public is more likely to oppose than favor suggested tip amounts. So as you guys were talking about, you get like the 20, 25, 30.
There's something about it. Like strikes something in you. It's just like,
yeah, I don't like any
you
of
don't
these
tell me what to do.
Yeah.
There's no option to like lower it or make it more.
Yeah.
It's only those three options. Like, I don't like any of them.
I've seen that a bunch too. It's either like 18, 20, 25,
Whatever.
or
Yeah.
20, 25, 30, something like
and
that.
those numbers are arrived at based off of calculations of what people are likely
Of course.
to choose.
Yeah.
I ignore all of that shit. That said, I try to avoid places where that is a thing that could come up from that. Because as much as I bitch about it, I absolutely get that guilt. You know, I'm just not going to buy into it because I'm Jewish. I've been around that block, you know.
I got other guilt to take up this spot.
Yeah.
Next bullet point is Americans broadly oppose automatic service charges. About 7 in 10 adults, 72%, say they oppose businesses including automatic service charges or tips on customers' bills regardless of group size. So you show up to a restaurant, there's not like 12 of you, and you get automatically.
It's usually like a 15-20% gratuity.
I'll give you then, if I may chime in. I have a story about this in terms of why I understand that that's a thing. And this story is anecdotal, so
I'll probably end up backing you on this.
We all know this story, but so I walked into a bar that I love, that I go to all the time. This was like 2 days ago. I walk in and I sit down, and a bartender who I know there, Jack, he comes over, and he was like, man, I thought you were banned from here. And I'm like, what? and he goes, and I'm like, and now I'm like running through like I'm neurotic.
What did I do?
I'm like, am I banned straight up here? Do I not remember? Did I like lose a day? You know? And he's like, I got the group text like for all the bartenders, and they sent out a message that was like, do you guys know that guy with tattoos, the shaved head, and a beard who's really loud? Like, he's banned. Never let him back in. And Jack says to me, and he's like, that's you. I'm like, oh my God, that's me. Am I banned? And so he explains it further. And apparently there's some other guy there who matches my description. White man. You know,
I get it.
They didn't mention that. You know, but some dude there, he like routinely goes in, and like the final straw, he's all of those things which are annoying. I will own up to how obnoxious I can be.
Yes.
But Dan, you don't have to fucking.
No, go on.
I know what I am. But this guy apparently routinely goes in and does this. But the last straw is that he went in, he had a $55 tab, and he tipped them 70 cents.
That's insulting.
It's insulting. Really insulting.
Yeah, just don't tip anything.
Don't tip anything. And I said this, and he was like, so it wasn't you. And I'm like, oh, thank God, because I need a whiskey after this conversation. My agita.
I mean, that is insane.
It's insulting. Yeah. But people, I don't know. People are pieces of shit.
I mean,
and this is the reason that I do understand when you have something like if your group is over 6 or 8, that will automatically add this, because while one hand does wash the other, and I think about this when I leave, because I'll leave like the drinking, and I leave like the over the top tip sometimes, you know. Part of my thinking about that is that other people are leaving no tip. And that's fucked up, you know?
Well, with the big party for a table, because it's eaten up those other tables, it could have been like multiple tops instead of this one.
This was explained to me by multiple bartenders. You might know this since you worked in the industry. This was explained to me when you're multiple people. But they go, basically what happens is that and the reason that it's specific to like 6 or 8 or whatever, I think that back to that original point, I do get why that regulation is there. But for the 6 or the 8, the thing that apparently happens is that you've got those people, let's just call it 8, and the bill arrives, and it's obviously one bill. And you go, let's pass this around. And everybody's like, oh, I'm going to pay it. I'm going to pay it. I'm going to pay it. And nobody ends up leaving the tip.
This is absolutely true. I want to chime in from when I worked at a restaurant, when we would have big tables, and we didn't have an added on automatic gratuity. When we had these big groups, there was some sort of psychological thing that would happen that everybody just thinks is covered, and they fucking leave. And that's it.
And nobody gets paid.
Yeah.
Nobody gets paid. You just worked your ass off for a fucking table of 8.
I think when you have smaller groups, there is like a level of like self-accountability within the group. When you have a group where not everybody can like have one-on-one conversation with each other, I think it's just there's something where it's like, it's assumed it was taken care of.
Right.
Let's get out of here.
But
Bye.
A party of 8 is going to sit longer than a party of 2 or 4.
Always.
Also,
And that's
and it's,
you have to turn over those tables to get the tips. And generally, even if all of those other 2 tops and 4 tops gave you $2, it would still equal more than you're getting off of that one table if you didn't include that gratuity.
especially if that fucking 8-person table leaves you zero.
Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you just wasted kind of your whole fucking night to make
for
nothing.
For nothing. Yeah. Yeah, you got
where you could have maybe made $7
$2.50 for the hour.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But that is something. I distinctly remember that from working in the restaurant. I always hated it because like I'd come in, what's on the book for tonight? We got a 16. It's like I'd be like,
yeah.
We're in a night that, and then this is 20 something years ago, where I'd walk home, like leave the place with like maybe $300 to $500 in tips. I could walk out of there with like $100 in tips because I'm
Just because of the one
fully
table.
focusing on this shit show of a circus that is a 16-person party.
Yeah.
And with a couple like 2 tops here and there.
Yeah.
There is something about that. Like,
Yeah.
There's
obviously,
a math
it's just my own.
It's the group thing. It's
Yeah.
group mentality, the way people think, and also think about the dynamics of like, like let's say 4 people, the 4 of us go out and sit down. We are communicating. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But also it's like a very casual communication. We all know each other.
Yeah.
Whereas like, if you ask me like, Pete, what was the last time that you went out and had dinner with 16 people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm going to tell you that I don't know 16 people.
Mhm.
That's not a thing.
That's a lot
So
of
I don't. So if somebody tells me they're leaving a tip or paying some part of this bill, I don't fucking know that nigga. I don't know what's up.
And it's,
Please watch the language.
No, sorry.
but it is so like we've seen this even in smaller groups too. At least I have, and I'm sure most people have too. When you're passing a bill around, you somehow always end up short when it comes back to the head of the table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, and again, I don't want to like preach like I'm so generous or something,
right.
but like I know that I put down twice what my bill was.
Yeah.
Like, so how is it short? Because I paid for at least one other person here. Yeah.
So someone just didn't pick up their end of the fucking
Yeah.
count.
Like somebody faked it the whole way.
And I think that probably has a part of it too. Because
Yeah.
like they get down to the head of the table and it's just like, well, I already threw in 2 times what I threw
Yeah.
in.
And now you're like between 8
And
people.
now I gotta throw in even more just to get the bill paid.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a $300 tab, and now you have like $700, and then it's like, wait, I'm the last one to pay. What the fuck am I supposed to put into this? I feel like I should be taking it out because this is way too much.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy. There's just something about having several people. Like some people, like I always. It's like, especially when it's combined. It's like 'cause it's often like, here's a 50.
Yeah.
I know it
Yeah.
doubly covers me, but like whatever. The rest will go to tip.
It's
But it
the
gets eaten up by people that are like, well, I got this, and they pay $4 less than what their thing was.
5.